Hey everyone, and welcome back to my playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS, done in a completionist style. Now, we got over the fact that Jaheira died in the last episode, after blindly charging into a berserked ogre like a fool. That's her fault, man.
I am here, indeed.
But yeah, she had it coming, you know, that was karma for her attitude from before. Anyway, I am going to progress to the Gnoll Stronghold. We're going to press on, and only after it I'm going to go back to Nashkel to raise Jaheira back.
It is done.
And we're waylaid by enemies, some gibberlings. On our way there. You know, this is something that I didn't want to do, going back to Nashkel, but you know, I wanted, after the Gnoll Stronghold, I wanted to go directly to a different area, but
I am here.
we gotta do what we gotta do. I don't want Jaheira to miss out on too much experience. We want to get her to that level 5 druid, so she can cast some of those call lightnings. Alright, so this is the BG1 NPC Project. Minsc knows that this is the area.
You're indeed.
Now here we have to pass this bridge, at the end of which there's going to be 2 grillins that want a toll paid for us to be able to, you know, I think I'm going to go fully ranged combat here.
Stop! You go nowhere. This our bridge. You pay to walk it.
Yeah, 200 for all heads. So this is NPC Project. So if you have Minsc with the NPC Project, you know, he wants to get to Dynaheir, so you don't even get any conversation options. Normally you would have the option to pay them, or to haggle with them, and you can actually haggle down to 100 gold. And there's kind of a cheap way that you can get more experience out of it, out of the whole thing, because you can first haggle to like 100 gold and pay them, and you get experience for that, 250 experience for that, I think, and they basically, you know, walk away and despawn in a couple of seconds. But in those couple of seconds when they walk away, you can still kill them, and if you manage to do that, you of course get your gold back, you get the loot that they have, and of course get even more experience. But, you know, this is cheap and I wouldn't have done that anyway. Now, let's just deal with them, and I mentioned their loot because the most notable thing about the whole fight here is the fact that they have gauntlets of dexterity.
Certainly. It is done.
And some potions. Here they are. Those are gauntlets of dexterity, which set the dexterity of the wearer to 18. Let's give that to Minsc. You can see that he got a bonus of 3 to his armor class through dexterity because he was only at 15. Now he's at 18.
I am here.
So now there are 2 pathways that we can go. We can go up to the Gnoll Stronghold, which is the first thing we're going to do. We're first going to save Dynaheir, and only afterwards we're going to go down, and we can kind of go through the side of the cliff range to reach some caves. I think I'm going to use 1 charge of that shield amulet. So now Sinashira's armor class is -3, which is pretty decent. Because there's going to be quite a few fights with these gnolls, and I don't want Sinashira to hold back. I just want her to go forth and destroy some gnolls. Or there's Zvart minions, I guess. There's going to be some bigger fights up there. We're going to progress upstairs in a second.
Certainly.
This is a little bit unfortunate that this Gnoll Stronghold is actually quite bigger than what you need to do here. Because all you need to do is go up these stairs and then progress east a little bit. And it's pretty cool to like explore the whole stronghold. It looks pretty cool, but there's not much in it, you know. There's basically... Minsc is stuck. There's just nothing in it, really. It's a bit of a shame. I wish there was some mod that like introduced some interesting stuff in the Stronghold to give you more of a reason to like explore the whole thing. There's going to be some bigger fights here, and I will use some sleep.
What a simple matter.
It is done.
Actually, you know what? You can cast sleep. Oh, of course we don't have sleeps anymore.
I am indeed.
By the way, in the last episode we of course had a wild surge coming from Nira that explored that whole area with the 2 bridges in the river.
You point.
Your concern? Certainly.
Alright, that was pretty effective. And I didn't notice that wild surge going off, which is something that I really should pay more attention to. I'm just really not used to playing with wild mages, I guess. And because of that randomness. But anyway, I should pay more attention to that, because some of these wild surges can be pretty deadly. Can have pretty negative effects. You have to actually be pretty careful when it comes to like buffing other people with Nira, for example, because you can have a wild surge that results in a fireball into your party in a case like that. Or you can have a cow fly down and kill someone. Or you can have a wild surge that makes you lose all your gold, for example. That one is unfortunate. So there's going to be quite a few gems, like minor treasures. So we can use quick loot to make it quite fast. There's the strength scroll, which is a pretty good spell in Baldur's Gate 1, considering that a lot of the frontline fighters have around 15 strength. Some of them went down there.
It is done.
There are these pits. Hello guys, excuse me. Okay, finally. There are these Gnoll veterans. And these fights you have a couple of a little bit tougher Gnoll types. There's also a leader, which I'm not sure if he actually was present in that other fight, because I think there might be a group that's still here. I'm not sure if with SCS. I thought those were basically 2 groups. You have some Gnoll elites. I think that Gnoll leader already fought in the other fight, I think. Didn't really pay attention too much. Oh, look at that, how effective that was.
What is it?
Let's talk more fight.
Why does Minsc look like his weapon broke? Oh, it did, but it doesn't really work too well when the game replaces his broken weapon automatically. He still kind of uses his fists.
It is done.
Alright, so we talked a little bit about Nira and her wild surges, but fortunately I will not have to pay more attention to her, because we are going to get rid of her right now. Now let's just take some stuff off of her. This is all going to be useful for other characters. Unfortunately, carrying all the stuff that Jaheira had takes quite a bit of our inventory space. Now let's have Senashira carry some of those bullets. Alright, so thank you Nira for your services. This was unusual for me to keep Nira this long.
York indeed.
So let us reform party and get rid of her.
What is it this seriously? After all we've been through? Obviously I had the wrong idea about our friendship. When you're ready to apologize, you can find me at the Friendly Arm Inn.
I'm not going to apologize to you. Get lost. Well, then let's not be that rude. I don't dislike this character. It's just that I don't really particularly like her either. I'm pretty neutral, I guess, towards that character. Yeah, perhaps we'll meet again. So she'll go back to the Friendly Arm Inn if we ever want to re-recruit her.
It is done. I am here.
By the way, I am going to do something unusual here. Here's Dynaheir. The witch we want to free, but I just want to show something when you charm her and you talk to her, she's actually going to...
Decency is refreshing. So many we meet are lacking.
And by the way, you might recognize the voice actress. Oh, she's so famous, and I just am forgetting her name right now. But the one that voiced, you know, many characters in Baldur's Gate, like, and of course outside of Baldur's Gate, she's most well known for female Shepherd from Mass Effect. But she also voiced a couple of characters, especially in Throne of Baal. She voices Nile, and she voices Ilasera. But anyway, she is charmed now, so actually she says something different here. I'm Dynaheir, a witch of Rashemen. I and my comrade Minsc have been sent by the Wicklaran or Witchlaran, I'm not sure. Those are the like witches leading the Rashemen nation, I guess, to determine, well, that's basically one of the ranks of the witches, and the Witchlaran I think is the highest rank, and they are the leaders. To determine whether the prophecies of Alaundo are true, we search for the spawn of Baal. So, well, we've already heard about these prophecies of Alaundo. They are very, very important to this game's story. And for some spawn of Baal, they are looking for. We're going to learn more about that in the near future.
It is done.
Cool. Butt kicking for goodness.
Alright, now let's talk.
I
You know, I
am
just
here.
reloaded, and now we're going to talk to her normally to recruit her into our party.
Indeed.
Decency is refreshing. So many we meet are lacking.
And she's kind of a little rude and dismissive towards you know, her companion, Minsc. And of course she has the thee and the thou, Old English. Now I believe that it is truly thee. Of course we're going to recruit her. Now,
They're called?
here are her stats. She is an invoker, that's a specialist mage who specializes in the evocation school of magic, and that gives me the opportunity to talk a little bit about the specialist mages. If we check out her kit description, we can see that the advantages of every specialist mage is that they can cast one additional spell per level, so they have one more memorization slot. But the disadvantage is that the opposing school to the one they specialize in is not accessible to them. So she specializes in evocation, and the opposing school to that is enchantment. So she cannot learn or even cast from scrolls any spells from the enchantment school. That's a pretty decent disadvantage in Baldur's Gate 1, because enchantment spells are very strong ones. However, one thing that has not been documented ever, pretty much, although it has been in the game engine, apparently even like back in '96 or whatever, is the fact that the specialist mages actually get a couple of other bonuses. And those are huge. I discovered that in 2016 by reading some threads on the Beamdog forums, and that was a discovery I think that the community has made in general at that time. I don't think it was specified anywhere before. And that is basically, you know, they get a little bit of a bonus to like learning their specialized school, or the spells that you know, are from that school of magic. So for example, you know, if she wanted to learn the level 2 spell Web, she would have a little bit of a higher success chance, but that's not the important part. Another thing that's not as important, but it is pretty cool, is that she gets a +2 saving throw bonus against the spells from that school she specializes in, so she will have an easier time trying to save against evocation spells. But finally, the most important thing that's a complete game changer, and that's been tested to be true, is the fact that the specialist mages, if they cast a spell from the school they specialize in, the opponents get a -2 saving throw penalty when trying to save against those spells. And that is just huge. That changes the complete way of thinking about these specialist mages, because traditionally, you know, you would only basically pick them solely based on what their opposing school is and what spells do they lose out on or miss out on. And But now, since they also get such a huge bonus to the actual school they specialize in, that is huge. Like, for example, Dynaheir, web, like I mentioned, is an evocation spell. That's way harder to save against if she casts that web. That's pretty powerful. You know, it doesn't really matter all that much when it comes to, like, you know, fireball or magic missile. Of course, they're going to do, well, magic missile doesn't even, you know, allow a saving throw. But fireball, for example, if you save against fireball, you still receive half of its damage. So, you know, she will do a little bit more damage with these offensive spells. But, you know, that is really huge, and that is huge for enchanters, actually, these saving throw penalties for opponents. We're going to talk more about them once we recruit Zan, who is an enchanter, a little bit later. Just one last thing about the specialists, since I'm already on the topic, is the fact that Dynaheir was traditionally thought to be, or a lot of people think of her as the weakest mage, the worst mage in the game, because traditionally in the classic Baldur's Gate 1, her kit, her Invoker, actually had 2 schools of magic opposed to evocations, so she would lose out on a lot more spells. Here it's only 1 school, although it is enchantment, so it is a school that has a lot of cool spells, so she still misses out on those. But, you know, she's not as bad as people usually think about her. And with that traditional line of thinking about the specialists, you know, Conjurer that loses out on Divination would traditionally be thought as, well, generally, usually, as the best specialist, because Divination is probably like the least important spell school, because it can be replaced by many things. Like clerics also have True Sight, for example, and, you know, thieves have Detect Illusion, so you can get rid of certain effects that the divination spells would help you against in many different ways. So those spells are very replaceable. But now, since we have the knowledge about that saving throw penalty, you know, that changes the game completely, because like an enchanter, for example, has a lot of spells with saving throws that, you know, now that we will have that saving throw penalty to those opponents, they, you know, that boosts the enchanter a lot. But for the Conjurer, it's actually not that big of a deal, because Conjurer doesn't have that many spells that opponents are allowed to save against. Like that, the major ones would be just Flame Arrow and Glitter Dust. For Glitter Dust, that penalty is really good. But, you know, aside from that, there's Grease, I guess, but it's not. So here's not that big of a deal. So here's that start of her personal quest about her journal, and we haven't seen anything like that.
Yes,
and at first, when I first played with the BG1 NPC Project, I thought I had this hope that, wow, maybe that actually makes the Gnoll Stronghold a little bit better, in the fact that maybe, you know, if we explore more, because you can go upstairs here, for example, and, you know, basically just uncover this whole cool stronghold area. I thought that maybe somewhere they hid that journal or some kind of clue on where it is. But unfortunately, it's not like that. It's much worse. I basically wanted to recruit Dynaheir just to, well, one of the main reasons is to have her for a while in our party, and then show you her her unique quest, because it's quite silly, actually. Most of the quests from the NPC project are much better than her quest. This group shows promise. Exceptional. I like her voiced lines. She has a pretty cool accent, and of course now we have to gear her up and level her up a little bit. I am just way too eager to engage into combat and you know, basically like do some adventures, proper adventures. Ooh, we're running out of throwing knives on Kiranai again. Yeah, and I didn't even properly equip her, and we can level her up. Oh, one more thing about these specializations when it comes to mages is the fact that it's pretty cool, because some of these schools of magic also
Your concern.
are used by clerics. So what you can do is create a human specialist mage. We haven't looted some minor gems over there, but whatever. Anyway, the thing is that you can start out as a human specialist of some sort, like an enchanter, for example, and then as soon as you reach level 2 and you can dual class into a cleric, and then as the cleric, you will also benefit from that saving throw penalty to enemies when casting cleric enchantment schools. Enchantment school spells, I should say. So that's pretty cool. Like you can or not necessarily enchantment, just as an example, you know, but you can basically get that benefit by just having, you know, the start as a mage, and then basically progressing throughout the whole game as a regular cleric, with just that that saving throw penalty on your spells from that school, just kind of for free, really. All right, someone lost their weapon. Was it your offhand, or was it Minsc again?
You're certainly.
Maybe it was one of the Svart's weapons. Anyway, we're going here along this cliff's edge, whatever, in the mountains, because in the mountains there are 3 caves here. Only one of them is really important, but for the sake of exploration and showing what's up in this area, let's go into all of them. This is just yet another lair of Svarts. This is basically Svart territory beneath that Gnoll Stronghold.
It is done.
And there's not much here, just a cave. Now let's progress upward. And in there we will find a very important item. And some healing potions. But we're doing this primarily for the Tome of Charisma that is hidden in one of these caves.
Your concern.
Just slaughtering these Svarts.
Yes,
They have no chance. So there's going to be 2 more caves here. So let's head on in.
Your life.
Slaughter some more Svarts.
I am here.
I didn't want to pick up this short sword. I just want to quickly pick up these minor treasures, because even though they're not too valuable on their own, you know, it all adds up. Now let's just switch to ranged weapons to get rid of this carrion crawler. They can paralyze on hit.
I am here.
So even though those are not particularly powerful enemies, it can be a little dangerous engaging them in melee. If you're unlucky, you can get stunned in an unfortunate position.
Yeah, it is done. I am here. Your concern? Yes.
Still one of them remaining.
Indeed.
Alright, and in here we have 3 healing potions, some minor scrolls, and the Tome of
Your
Charisma,
concern?
which
It
is
is
going to
done.
permanently, magically increase our charisma by 1. So Jaheira is going to have 19 charisma in total. Actually, I also want to show you that if you progress upwards here, there's also another entrance to the map, or an exit point.
Yes, certainly.
I really consider this one with the bridge the most classic and pretty much like the only way you should, you know, enter the map. There are some mods that like introduce alternative entrances to some maps, and you can like enter from here to the north, which is really anticlimactic. Like that bridge with those 2 Ogrillions, it's just such a classic thing. It's a very classic scenario. But if you go up here, some more gnolls wanting to get killed.
I am here. I must have.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa!
Indeed. Your
Go for the
concerned?
eyes, Boo! Go for the
Yes?
eyes! Ah!
I am indeed.
Minsc didn't, the Boo didn't go for the eyes quite there, I guess, since they were able to strike Jaheira so accurately.
Yes?
Alright. Okay, so now let's go back to Nashkel, I guess.
You have been waylaid
Probably gonna
by
get
enemies
ambushed.
and must defend yourself.
I indeed. Your
Some
yes?
Grillins.
Indeed.
Alright. Let's go back to Nashkel and raise Jaheira back. Okay.
Indeed.
Now we're here. Let's go to the temple. And pay some money.
It is done. I am indeed.
How much is Jaheira's life worth, huh?
Helm watch over thee upon thy quest.
Let's see. 400 gold. Depends on the level.
Your concern?
Well, Jaheira. Let's see what we can do to quickly re-equip you. With some stuff. Let Minsc carry some heavier stuff. Oh yeah, Jaheira, you had these quest items, right? Yeah, whatever. Where is your stuff, Jaheira? This was yours, I think. And this was yours. Oh yeah, Minsc can get back his old plate armor. I'm not sure if... Well, let Minsc keep the gauntlets for now. Jaheira is gonna get them later. Since Jaheira in our playthrough is using her Baldur's Gate 2 stats, she doesn't need these gauntlets of dexterity quite as badly. As she would normally would. Alright, and was there anything else? I'm trying to be quick here, but you know, especially this is also something that happens to me in combat, like, you know, when I want to skim through the combat log quickly, I sometimes miss stuff like that wild surge. But you know, I want to be kind of quick. I don't want to just lose too much time. But on the other hand, that sometimes makes me miss some obvious stuff. Like, I don't know how I could not notice that wild surge proccing. You know what, we're going to quickly go to the carnival, buy... Oh, we have already bought all of the throwing knives from there. That is really unfortunate, man. We need to rest up, anyway, before some other adventures.
It is done.
Now we're going to keep Minsc and Dynaheir for just a while longer. Oh yeah, with the TOB style NPC, we can level her up ourselves. So she gets quite a few levels. And now she's level 4, so she has access to level 2 spells, and she has Stinking Cloud only. We have a web scroll. We have an identify scroll. We could use her for an identifying session, I think. I don't really want to invest into her. Yeah, she isn't going to be the one learning the spells. I'm going to have some other mages later. Although, let's just quickly check out our scroll situation. What do we have here? We have one web, so I don't really want to waste it. The identify scroll is not too important. We could teach her that. And do an identification session, since we're kind of due for that. Look at all this magical loot that we have, and we have that magical tome that we cannot use until we identify it. On the other hand, I don't want to dump any potions on her to guarantee that she learns the spells, and with her 17 intelligence, she only has a 75% chance to learn spells, which is not that great.
That called?
Stinking Cloud is not too bad.
Yes, certainly. It is done.
What should I do here? You know what? I'm going to think on it. Since it's already been a half an hour, pretty much, I'm going to end this episode here. And I'm going to think some things through.
It is time for us to
Oh,
rest.
some of us are even fatigued. So I'm going to think about some things in the meantime, in between episodes, and we're going to see each other in the next one. Thanks for watching.